Hello, sorry I can't be with you today. You're going to be starting your street art outcome. Remember, you're being commissioned to make your own mixed media street art that communicates a social, cultural, or historical issue that pulls together two of the artists that we've looked at least. So that might be a bit of some stencil work inspired by Banksy. It might be taking a political idea and his sort of like visual language from Banksy. It could be paste ups and more of a personal narrative. It could be those beautiful paper cut work that she uses, her colour scheme that Swoon uses, or it could be anything from your third artist. So think about what they did, what really excited you, what really inspired you. It could be how they did their work, what they did their work looking at, like what their subject matter was, or it could be the techniques that they use. So think about what excites you about the work that we've looked at so far, and then how you're going to translate that into your work. For today's lesson, you're going to do a few different things. The first thing is you're all going to review how well you've worked so far for the Student Parent Teacher Conference, regardless of whether or not you're coming to them. It's just good that we all kind of take a little temperature check. You're going to select your board's shape and size, then put your name on the back of it. You're going to plan and print your stencils or the papers that you will use to collage for the background. And then you're going to start spraying. So Cunnavan will be outside with a spray paint if you want to work with him. So the boards that are available are triangle, circle, oval, rectangle, and square. The laser cutter isn't working at the moment, so the circle and the oval, we've only got what's in the storeroom at the moment, and I'm not sure when we'll be able to get more. So if that isn't available, if the one that you want isn't available, please speak to Cunnavan or Mr. Jarrett to see whether or not they can think of another option for you. But really think about what that visual language is and how you can use it. Is it like a warning sign? Is it like a mirror? Is it like a cameo? I've seen some really good annotations where students have started to think about what is it that this shape is saying and how can I use that to help me. And I think that's a really good place to start. Make sure that you have your name on the back of your board, not on the front of it, because obviously you're going to cover it over. And then Henry will show you where to keep them. If they're wet, they go on the drying rack or stay outside to dry so that we don't stink up the classroom. So if it's got spray paint on, they'll show you where to store them outside. The next thing I want to talk about is your stencil size. So think about how big your stencil is. Some of us, when we were doing our spray paint, had these tiny floating stencils and a lot of negative space around it, like we can see on the right-hand side. There's a lot of like floating space around it, a lot of empty space. Think about how you could use that if your stencil's a bit smaller. Or we could look at the one on the left-hand side where the stencil's a bit bigger and it's more commanding of the space, but potentially there's less to interact with it. So think about how you want, how big you want to print your stencil. When it comes to printing, if you get all your images on a slide, so if you go search for images, let me show you how to do this properly. If you go on here, insert image, search the web, it will bring up images here that confirm that you have the license to use. So that means that you're not using anything that doesn't have Creative Commons licenses. And then you can pick stencil and lion, for example, and we can see what is available for us to use and if we want to use those. If there isn't the one available on the internet, make your own. It's so much better if you make your own anyway, but if you want to use these, you'll use these. We just need to make sure that we've referenced them. So say I want to print this one out, I'll insert it. I'll use my slide as roughly an A4 piece of paper. I think it's always better to put them into slides rather than Word documents because it's just easier to manipulate them. So I want to stretch it as much as I can. Get it in the middle, make sure it doesn't cut off. And then when I go on File and Print, you want to think about doing it Art Office black if you can, or do it follow me black and white will be the best thing, and then you can go into the studio if you just want to do it, Pixel Room if you just want to do an A4. If you want to do it in A3, you're going to have to find somewhere else to print it. So pick which one of those you want to work on. If you want to do A3, follow me black and white, feel free to go down to the library to collect those, or you can leave them to do next lesson. Okay, so get rid of that. Remember, as you're doing your work, everything that you do, sorry about that. We need everything that you're doing to be filmed, because in your final video, we're going to have your work, your development process, and have those creative videos to accompany the final piece, and make sure that you think about what you're filming and how you're filming. If the teacher feels that you're misusing the opportunity, they can remove that opportunity from you. So make sure that you're being respectful with how you're using the camera as well and what you're filming. So yeah, if you want to start spraying this lesson, you can start spraying, but work smarter, not harder. Sometimes it's better to make sure that you know that your work is going to be able to be done to a high standard, and that you're happy with the decisions before you make them, so you don't have to recover them afterwards. So on this one, they've really thought about what that background is, and they filled that with the background, and then created this 3 colour stencil. So you've got the white areas, the red areas, and the black areas, and then the word misunderstood. So they've really stopped to think about what this is going to look like and how they're using those colours and those patterns. So although it might be really exciting and you want to get started this lesson, feel free to, but it might be that you need to just take a step back and figure out what it's going to look like. So before we get started this lesson, we all need to do this. You should have your student parent teacher conference documentation. I just want you to pick out some questions and fill that in. I've just reorganized the same questions that you've seen in other lessons. So the first thing, what are the skills that you've been developing in the class? In the blue boxes, we have our wow column. The good things in our orange column, we have our how things, what could we improve on? And then in the green column, we have our now questions. So what's going to happen moving forward? And then at the bottom, just think about what you can show mum and dad later tonight that highlights your learning. Okay, so pick out 1, 2, 3 questions and just think about how you're going to fill either the 8 minutes tomorrow, or just review what you've done so far. As soon as you've done that, you're welcome to get started getting your board, figuring out your stencils, figuring out those things. Okay, I'm really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you have any questions or things that your teacher or Cynefin don't feel comfortable to answer, and they don't need to answer them, feel free to just put them on the classroom and I'll see if I can answer them myself. Second thing, in terms of cutting the stencils, the cover teacher has not got to let you cut the stencils. So if the cover teacher does not want to be responsible for you with the knives, which I completely understand, they do not have to. You can cut the stencils with me next lesson, just get everything else prepared and figure out everything else that you can do. If you feel like you're at a loss, maybe go into your sketchbook, colour some things in, make a plan that's got a bit more colour and a bit more of an obvious outcome, and ready for when I get back. Very sorry that I'm having this lesson. I'm not going to see you, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do in my absence, and really excited to see these pieces completed. Thank you.